Have you ever stopped to think that your mind might be the key to unlocking an incredible potential you didn't even know you had? Sounds crazy, doesn't it? But what if I told you that science is proving that you have more control over your reality than you ever imagined? Think about it. What if you could improve your health, your relationships, and even your career just by changing the way you think? I'm not talking about empty self-help tricks, but scientifically proven techniques that can transform your life. In the next pages of this video, we will uncover the secrets of quantum physics that apply to your everyday life. We will explore how your brain creates the reality you experience, and more importantly, how you can influence this creation. Are you ready to question everything you thought you knew about your mind? We'll dive into the world of the placebo effect, explore how the practice of mindfulness can literally reshape your brain, and unravel the transformative power of neuroplasticity. Don't worry if these terms sound complicated now. I promise that by the end of this journey, you will not only understand these concepts, but also have practical tools to apply them and revolutionize your life. So, are you ready to take the first step toward a more powerful version of yourself? Let's begin by exploring how your brain processes reality and why we can't always trust what we see. Open your mind, question your perceptions, and get ready for a transformative journey into the limitless power of your mind. The brain and perceived reality. Have you ever wondered why two people can witness the same event and have completely different interpretations? The answer lies in how our brain processes information. Imagine your brain as a biological supercomputer, constantly bombarded with an avalanche of sensory data. Every second, your eyes, ears, skin, and other sensory organs send millions of bits of information to be processed. But here's the fascinating detail. Your brain cannot handle all this information at once. So what does it do? It filters, it selects, it interprets. In other words, your brain creates a simplified version of reality based not only on what is out there, but also on your past experiences, expectations, and beliefs. It's as if you were watching an edited version of reality rather than the full, uncut film. This means that the reality you experience is actually a unique mental construction. That's why two people can look at the same painting and have completely different emotional reactions. One person's brain might focus on the vibrant colors and associate them with happy memories, while another's might concentrate on the shadows, evoking feelings of melancholy. But don't mistake this for a design flaw. In fact, it's an incredibly useful adaptation that allows us to navigate a complex world without becoming overwhelmed. The problem arises when we forget that our perception is merely an interpretation, not an absolute truth. Let's do a small thought experiment. Think of a recent situation that frustrated or upset you. Now try to imagine how another person with a different set of experiences and beliefs might interpret the same situation in a completely different way. Fascinating, isn't it? This is the power and the danger of perceived reality. On one hand, it gives us the ability to shape our experiences through our interpretations. On the other hand, it can trap us in limiting thought patterns if we are not aware of this process. Optical illusions are a perfect example of how our brain can be deceived. Take the famous blue and black dress illusion, or was it white and gold? This viral phenomenon demonstrated how our brains can interpret the same visual information in radically different ways, depending on assumptions about lighting and context. Understanding this filtering and interpretation process is the first step in harnessing the true power of your mind. By recognizing that your reality is largely a mental construction, you gain the ability to question your perceptions and potentially change them. And this is where things get really interesting. Because if the reality we experience is so malleable, so influenced by our expectations and beliefs, it raises a fascinating question. To what extent can we actively shape our experience of reality? This question leads us into even more intriguing territory, the world of quantum physics and its surprising relationship with consciousness. Fundamentals of quantum physics and consciousness. Imagine a world where particles can be in two places at the same time, where observing something can change its fundamental nature, and where uncertainty is not just a limitation of our knowledge, but an intrinsic feature of reality. This is the quantum world. At the heart of quantum physics lies the principle of superposition. Simply put, this means that a quantum particle can exist in multiple states simultaneously until it is observed. It's as if a cat could be both alive and dead at the same time until we open the box to check, a reference to the famous Schrödinger's cat thought experiment. But what does this have to do with the power of our mind? Well, here's the twist. Physicists have discovered that the mere act of observation, yes, just looking at something, can influence the behavior of quantum particles. It's as if the universe is waiting for us to look before deciding how to behave. This phenomenon, known as the measurement problem in quantum mechanics, has led some scientists to speculate about the role of consciousness in shaping physical reality. Could our consciousness, through the act of observation, literally collapse quantum possibilities into a defined reality? Physicist John Wheeler proposed the delayed choice experiment, which suggests that our choices in the present can influence events in the past at a quantum level. Sounds crazy, doesn't it? But real experiments have supported this bizarre idea. Another fascinating concept is quantum entanglement. Einstein called it spooky action at a distance. It is a phenomenon where two particles become so intimately connected that the state of one instantly affects the state of the other, no matter how far apart they are. Some theorists suggest that our minds might operate in a similar way, possibly explaining phenomena like telepathy or intuition. Now, it's important to note that we are stepping into speculative territory here. The exact relationship between quantum physics and consciousness remains a subject of intense scientific debate. But what we do know for certain is that the quantum world challenges our conventional notions of reality in profound ways. What if these quantum ideas applied to our scale? What if our minds, through observation and intention, could influence the world around us in subtle yet significant ways? Some researchers, like Dr. Dean Radin, have conducted experiments to test these ideas. In one study, volunteers attempted to mentally influence the behavior of a beam of light in an interferometer, a device that measures the quantum properties of light. The results suggested a small but statistically significant effect of mental intention on quantum behavior. Of course, these studies are controversial and require further replication, but they open up fascinating possibilities about the potential power of our minds. What does all this mean for you in your daily life? Well, even if we can't control reality with our thoughts like in a sci-fi movie, these discoveries suggest that our consciousness may play a more active role in shaping our reality than we ever imagined. Perhaps the most important takeaway is the shift in perspective that quantum physics offers us. It reminds us that reality is far more flexible, interconnected, and full of possibilities than our common sense would have us believe. Because if our mind truly has this incredible potential, how can we harness it in practical and beneficial ways? How can we use the power of positive thinking to make a real difference in our lives? That's what we're going to explore next. The power of positive thinking. Scientific evidence. Have you ever heard the phrase, "think positive"? It may sound like a self-help cliché, but modern science is discovering that there is much more truth to it than we ever imagined. Let's start with something you may have already experienced: the placebo effect. Imagine taking a sugar pill, believing it to be a powerful painkiller, and feeling your pain subside. This is the placebo effect in action, and it is a well-documented phenomenon in medicine. What's fascinating is that the placebo effect is not just an illusion. Neuroimaging studies show that when a person believes they are receiving an effective treatment, their brain actually releases chemicals that can relieve pain or improve other symptoms. It's as if our brain has an internal pharmacy that can be activated by belief and positive expectations. But the power of positive thinking goes beyond the placebo effect. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize and form new neural connections, is another field that demonstrates the tangible impact of our thoughts. For example, a famous study on London taxi drivers found that the part of the brain responsible for spatial navigation, the hippocampus, was significantly larger in them than in the average population. The most interesting part? The size of the hippocampus was directly related to the time they had spent driving taxis. Their brains had literally reshaped in response to the demands of their job and their constant focus on navigation. Now, Think about what this means for positive thinking. If we consistently focus on positive and constructive thoughts, we can literally train our brains to be more optimistic and resilient. It's like creating a path in a dense forest. The more you walk it, the easier and more natural it becomes. Research in positive psychology, a pioneering field led by Martin Seligman, has repeatedly demonstrated the benefits of positive thinking for mental and physical health. Optimistic people tend to have stronger immune systems, recover more quickly from illnesses, and even live longer. One particularly interesting study published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology followed nuns for decades. Researchers analyzed the diaries they had written in their youth, ranking them based on emotional positivity. Surprisingly, the nuns whose writings contained more positive emotions lived, on average, 10 years longer than their less positive peers. But it's not just about longevity. Positive thinking is also linked to greater professional success, more fulfilling relationships, and higher resilience in the face of life's challenges. It's important to note that positive thinking doesn't mean ignoring problems or living in denial. On the contrary, it's about approaching challenges with a constructive and hopeful mindset. It's about seeing opportunities where others see obstacles. So how can we cultivate this kind of positive mindset? One powerful technique is the practice of gratitude. Studies show that keeping a gratitude journal, where you regularly write down things you are grateful for, can significantly boost happiness and well-being. Another effective approach is mindfulness or full awareness, which brings us to our next topic. How can the practice of being fully present in the moment alter our perception and, by extension, our reality? That's what we'll explore in the next section. Mindfulness and perception shift. Now, let's explore a practice that can help us cultivate positivity while profoundly transforming our perception of reality. Mindfulness. But what exactly is mindfulness? Simply put, it is the practice of being fully present and aware in the current moment, without judgment. Sounds simple, right? Yet, in a world full of distractions, this simplicity can be surprisingly powerful. Imagine being so focused on the here and now that worries about the future and regrets about the past simply dissolve. This is the state that mindfulness seeks to cultivate. And it's not just an ancient philosophy. Modern science is uncovering tangible benefits from this practice. Neuroimaging studies show that regular mindfulness practice can literally reshape our brains. For example, researchers at Harvard University found that just 8 weeks of mindfulness meditation led to increased gray matter density in brain areas associated with learning, memory, emotional regulation, and perspective. But how does this alter our perception? By training our minds to focus on the present, we begin to notice things that would otherwise go unnoticed. Colors appear more vivid, flavors more intense, and we become more attuned to our own emotions and those of others. Moreover, mindfulness helps us create a space between stimulus and response. Instead of automatically reacting to situations, we can pause, observe our emotions, and consciously choose how to respond. This can completely transform our experience of stressful or challenging situations. A fascinating study published in the journal Pain found that experienced mindfulness practitioners felt less pain than the control group when exposed to painful stimuli. Even more impressively, brain areas associated with pain showed less activation. In other words, they weren't just ignoring the pain, they were actually experiencing it differently. Mindfulness can also help us break negative thought patterns. By observing our thoughts without judgment, we can begin to recognize unhelpful or unrealistic thinking and choose not to identify with it. This can be particularly powerful for those struggling with anxiety or depression. But mindfulness isn't limited to formal meditation. It can be practiced during everyday activities, while eating, walking, or even washing dishes. The goal is to bring full awareness to each moment of our lives. As we cultivate this expanded awareness, we start to realize just how much our expectations and beliefs shape our experience of reality. And this leads us directly to our next topic: the powerful effect that our expectations have in shaping our reality. The effect of expectation on reality. Now let's take a step further and examine how our expectations can literally shape the reality we experience. This phenomenon is known as the self-fulfilling prophecy. and its impact on our lives is deeper than many of us realize. The self-fulfilling prophecy is a fascinating concept. The idea that an expectation or prediction, whether positive or negative, can come true simply because we believe in it. Sounds like magic, doesn't it? But there is solid psychological evidence behind it. Think of a situation where you were nervous about an important presentation. You expected things to go wrong, and suddenly, it felt like everything was working against you. Your negative expectation may have influenced your behavior, leading to mistakes you wouldn't normally make, thus creating the very reality you feared. On the other hand, when we approach a situation with confidence and optimism, we tend to behave in ways that increase our chances of success. It's as if our positive expectations open doors we didn't even know existed. A classic example of this phenomenon is the Pygmalion effect, demonstrated in a groundbreaking study in schools. Researchers told teachers that certain students, randomly selected, had exceptional academic potential. By the end of the year, these students actually performed better, not because they were inherently more intelligent, but because the teacher's high expectations positively influenced their behavior and that of the students. This effect is not limited to education. In the business world, leaders' expectations can significantly influence their team's performance. In healthcare, patients' expectations about their recovery can impact the healing process. But how does this work? Our expectations act as filters through which we interpret the world. When we expect something, our brain becomes more alert to information that confirms that expectation, a phenomenon known as confirmation bias. Additionally, our expectations influence our behavior, often in subtle ways that we don't consciously notice. The most powerful aspect of all this is that once we understand the impact of our expectations, we can begin to use them consciously to our advantage. Cultivating positive expectations isn't just about thinking positively, it's about creating a mental framework that predisposes us to success. This doesn't mean we should ignore challenging realities or potential risks. Instead, it's about approaching situations with a growth mindset, believing in our ability to learn, adapt, and overcome obstacles. And here's the most exciting part. As we start seeing the positive results of our optimistic expectations, this reinforces our belief, creating a virtuous cycle of positive expectations and positive outcomes. But how can we actually put all this knowledge into practice? How can we use the power of our minds in a concrete and effective way in our daily lives? That leads us to our next topic: practical techniques to harness the power of the mind. Now it's time to turn this knowledge into action. Let's explore some practical and powerful techniques that you can start using immediately to tap into the incredible power of your mind. Let's begin with creative visualization. This technique involves creating vivid mental images of what you want to achieve. Elite athletes have been using this for years to improve their performance, and studies show that visualization can activate the same brain areas as actual physical practice. To practice, spend a few minutes each day imagining yourself achieving your goals in as much detail as possible. If your goal is to give a successful presentation, visualize yourself confidently standing on stage, your audience engaged, hanging on to your every word. The more vivid and emotionally charged your visualization, the more powerful it will be. Another powerful technique is positive affirmations. These are positive statements that you regularly repeat to yourself. The key is to phrase them in the present tense, as if they are already a reality. For example, instead of saying, "I will be confident," say, "I am confident and capable." At first, it may feel strange or even false to say these things, but remember, you are essentially reprogramming your thought patterns. Over time, these affirmations can help reframe limiting beliefs and reinforce a more positive and empowering mindset. The practice of gratitude, which we mentioned earlier, is another powerful tool. Keeping a gratitude journal, where you regularly write down things you are grateful for, can have a profound impact on your perspective and overall well-being. Try writing 3 things you're grateful for every night before bed. Incorporating mindfulness into your daily routine can also be transformative. Start with small moments of mindfulness, perhaps by paying full attention to your breath for a minute several times a day or practicing mindful eating during a meal. Finally, don't underestimate the power of setting clear intentions. Each morning, take a moment to set your intentions for the day. What do you want to accomplish? How do you want to feel? What kind of energy do you want to bring to your interactions? Setting intentions helps focus your mental and emotional energy, aligning your actions with your larger goals. Remember, the key to all these techniques is consistency. The power of your mind is like a muscle. The more you exercise it, the stronger it becomes. Start by incorporating one or two of these practices into your daily routine and observe the subtle yet profound changes that begin to unfold in your life. As you become more skilled at directing the power of your mind, you may start noticing remarkable shifts in your reality. Situations that once seemed challenging may become opportunities for growth. Relationships may deepen. Goals that once felt distant may begin to materialize. We have reached the end of our fascinating journey into the power of the human mind. We explored how our brain creates our reality, discussed the mysteries of quantum physics, uncovered the impact of positive thinking and mindfulness, and learned practical techniques to harness this incredible power that we all possess. But remember, knowledge only becomes power when applied. The real work begins now, when you step away from this video and start implementing these ideas into your daily life. I challenge you to choose at least one of the techniques we discussed, whether it's visualization, positive affirmations, gratitude practice, or mindfulness, and commit to practicing it consistently for the next 21 days. Remember, you have the power to shape your reality. Your mind is an incredibly powerful tool, capable of transforming not only your perception of the world, but also the world around you. So, what are you waiting for? Your brighter, more positive, and more powerful future begins now. The journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. Take that step today.